Mm. 67% of Americans do not have an estate plan, exposing them to a messy probate process, costly mistakes, and an unsure legacy. Today, we'll discuss having your fundamental estate planning documents in order. Let's chop. Contrary to popular opinion, estate planning is not just for the uber wealthy, 30, 40, 50, $100 million. No, it's for folks like you, high income, mass affluent, high net worth folks. Got to get that estate plan in order. Yet, 55% of Americans die without a will, which is the fundamental document that guides your assets, legacy, and decisions. Hi, I'm Dr. Preston Cherry, founder and CEO of Concurrent Wealth Management, and we do your wealth your way. All right. The topics we're going to talk about today are avoiding probate, securing your legacy, and having those essential documents in order. So let's chop up about that. First, essential estate planning documents. It kicks off with a will. Got to have one. Now, a will is a public document, and so folks can pull it up in county records. That said, having a will kicks off a fundamental estate plan. It directs your assets and avoids the state telling you and your family what to do with your assets according to state law. So if you don't have a will, then you go through probate and the state laws pass along assets according to heirship. All right. And those rules may not be what you want. And your assets and your decisions, they get passed along to folks that you may not intend. And it also passes along assets in an inefficient manner. And your legacy is otherwise not honored. So having a will is very essential. Although it's public, you can make your legacy decisions more private in nature by utilizing a trust. So the discussions that are necessary in order to decide what is going to go in your will, not only with yourself, but with your spouses and your family, is very critical in order to develop a will that states this is how you want your assets to pass and avoid going to the court system and state rule. So having a will is necessary. A lot of folks die without a will and causing a lot of delayed decisions, family disruption, and decisions that weren't intended by you. The second document to have is a revocable living trust. And a living trust is one that is private in nature. So you can instruct in your will to have your assets in a living trust. So you have to set up the living trust, first of all, and make sure that your assets are going into your living trust. Now, a living trust is private, not public, and a living trust does not help you save on estate taxes. So when you pass away, your estate, so whatever you own, is susceptible to an estate tax, which is higher than your annual federal tax. So not having a tax efficient estate, that hurts as well. We're going to get into that in a different episode, but having a revocable living trust helps pass along your assets in private in a even more efficient or effective manner by passing those assets along, and your heirs get your assets immediately. All right. Private. I love privacy. I'm sure you do too. All right. All right. A third document that you for sure need is a power of attorney. A power of attorney allows or appoints someone to make decisions for you when you or if you become incapacitated and you're not able to make decisions for yourself. All right. Particularly those financial decisions, to be specific. And you just don't want someone willy-nilly making decisions for you. Now, if you have a spouse, I mean, that helps make your decisions. You've trusted that person for a long time, but you don't want to leave any ambiguity in who you want to make your financial decisions if you become incapacitated, whether it be your spouse, a trusted family member, or whomever. Some of your family members are more equipped to make better financial decisions. You want to have those family members that you trust and you believe in that has that financial acumen to make decisions for you on your behalf when you can't. Okay. Now, another one is a healthcare directive or a living will. Okay. Your healthcare directive, it sounds how it sounds. It's going to appoint folks to make your health decisions when you can or towards the end of your life. In this section or this document, it has decisions like, do you want to be resuscitated at the end of your life in the hospital? It's called a DNR, do not resuscitate. And you don't want that decision to be left up to folks that are unsure. Sure, you may have expressed that verbally. You've told your spouse about that and you trust them in a way to make that decision for you. And then family members come in and they say, well, I don't believe that. I don't believe my son or daughter would have made that decision. All right. And you don't always have to be married. It could just be if you die as an individual, who's around you to make that decision without any ambiguity. Okay. So DNRs, do not resuscitate, and how you want your other medical decisions made for you. So you appoint one person and it is stated clearly in your documents how you want your medical decisions to be made. And you leave, if there's any ambiguity, you leave one person that you trust in order to make those decisions. All right. So those 4 critical documents: will, living trust, power of attorney, and a healthcare directive. Now, let's get into how you avoid probate. Okay. And you minimize some estate taxes. And we're going to have another estate tax type of episode with types of trusts later on. So stay tuned. Be sure you like and subscribe so you don't miss that episode. All right. Number 1 on how to avoid probate is having your beneficiary spaces on your accounts filled out properly. When your beneficiary spaces are left blank, then your assets are going to, again, be susceptible to the probate process and the estate process. How your assets are transferred are by contract, okay? Then by your estate planning documents, second, okay? So contractually, when you have an account, contract titling and your wills, okay? Contract titling and wills are the order of how your estate assets transfer. So by contract, if you say you have a life insurance document or a retirement plan, they have a beneficiary section that says, who do you want to leave your assets to? And that beneficiary, fill that out. It's a primary beneficiary and a secondary beneficiary. So if that primary person is deceased, then it goes to your second beneficiary. You can also split your assets in half in percentages. So half goes this way, half goes that way. It can be any percentage that you like. Okay. So just simply filling out a name in that area and your beneficiary space, by contract, your assets have to go there. Okay. Also, by titling your accounts properly is another way to avoid probate. And this is where you have your deeds for your home. Okay. Title in such a way that says, for example, joint tenancy with right of survivorship. That's one example. So deeds for your home, your bank accounts, your investment accounts, having your accounts properly titled in a way that instructs automatic transfership or at your death. A joint tenancy with right of survivorship says when you pass, the right of survivorship goes to, or your assets go to, whoever else is listed on that account. So having the correct titling is important, particularly with joint. You can also have transfer on death, transfer payable on death. So you can say, this is who it goes to when I pass along, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a spouse. Joint tenancy doesn't necessarily have to be with a spouse. You can use another title to transfer another person, such as transfer on death. Fund a trust in a way, your revocable living trust. Fund a trust, private in nature, and you could start transferring assets, high income or high value assets into a trust. Now, when you start transferring assets to something other than a living trust, and then it goes into an irrevocable trust or a trust that's ignited at your passing, then we're talking about ways and figuring out what type of trusts can be used in order to start reducing your estate taxes. Remember, a living trust doesn't do that. It transfers assets efficient or effectively because it names who you want those assets to go to. However, you're still living and it's revocable, meaning you still have claim to those assets. You can take them back. Well, with a irrevocable trust or a trust that's triggered at your death, you have transferred assets over to a trust, giving up ownership of those and transferring not from an individual to an estate, to a trust document. Then those trusts can be used in order to start reducing taxes. But remember, a living trust doesn't do that quite yet, but it does help with a private transfer of your assets. All right. Also, too, as far as the state is concerned, we have an exemption you have an exemption that's available to you of transferring $13.9 million to someone or whomever. All right. Estate tax free. That's a lot of money, y'all. And then you can double it if you're talking about electing you and your spouse, if you have one. So that's 26 million. So 13 million for an individual, 26 million for spouses. Okay. So that's why I kicked off the show with, you don't have to be uber wealthy in order to have an estate plan. Everybody wants to transfer assets efficiently. Okay. But as far as estate tax is concerned, not too many people are exposed to it when you have $13 or $26 million to transfer. Yet, you do want to have strategies in order to reduce an estate, when it's applicable. Also, you can give away money, gift tax free. You have an annual exclusion of $19,000 per person every year, and you can double that for spouses. We'll talk about that more, talk about gift splitting and how you can give away money estate tax free year over year. You can also have charitable remainder trusts to help reduce your tax exposure. We'll talk about that in another episode. But the key is that you can have trusts that trigger at your death in order to help reduce estate taxes and also have taking care of your legacy too by transferring your assets in a way that reduces your estate, but gets those monies to the people that you want to. And you can do that while living and also in your passing. All right. So let's get to number 3, which is protecting your legacy. And this is probably the most essential step. And you have to have the conversations with, start writing that down, your spouse and your family, in order to get the information that you need and your wishes that you want written down in a way and vocalized in a way, making them clear so then you can put those instructions into a document. It kicks off with a conversation, must have. All right. Can't tell you how many folks do not have these conversations or do not want to have these conversations because of potential conflict. Okay. And maybe leaving someone out of a will or a trust that someone had expectations to, or someone making financial and health decisions that they thought they were going to be able to make, and you didn't want that. However, don't avoid this because of conflict or challenges. It's going to be more challenging and ignite more conflict when you do not have the discussion to have a will and don't have a will or trust documents and having a full estate plan. It's going to hurt more talking about it, but it actually is going to be more joyful. It'll hurt more when you don't have the conversation, you don't have the documents. Can't stress enough how important it is to have conversations, to have clarity about this area. Anybody exposed to that will tell you a horror story that they simply wish they would have had a conversation and these documents in order so family, friends, and spouses can have more peace of mind about this process. Have the conversation. Update your documents regularly, revisit them at milestone moments in life and just at the turn of every year, because life happens. And when life happens and changes, you change. So you want to be able to make sure that as you grow throughout life and your decisions may shift a little bit, you want to make sure that your documents express what you want in your legacy year after year and at milestone moments, marriages, birth of children, children getting older, business ownership. The list is long. So revisit your documents, your title, your titling, and your beneficiary areas every year. And also, too, if you can, work with an attorney, because they have to execute the documents, and a financial planner. Here at Concurrent Wealth Management, we partner with some of the best estate planning technology out there. And then also with the wisdom of like somebody like myself or other advisors, we help you carry out your estate plan. So using an attorney and a financial planner can help you through this process. Estate laws change all the time. They're rapidly. As a matter of fact, we have some rules in our estate planning policy in the U.S. that are consistently changing and may change and expire in 2026. So you have to keep up with the estate planning laws and working with professionals that run into or deal with these aspects every day. All right. Can't stress enough about having an estate planning plan in order for you to avoid a lengthy probate process, costly mistakes, tax and fees, court fees, and also ensuring that your legacy is in place. You want to have these essential documents in order. Now, like and subscribe to the show so you can be made aware when we start talking about trusts and what type of trusts that you can use in order to effectively and efficiently transfer your assets and reduce your tax exposure as well, and carry out the wishes that you want after your passing. All right. I hope you like what you heard, seen, and feel. And if you do, like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, we'll see you soon. Cheers.